It's another morning, another day, but I really want to talk to you about something important that some of you have been asking about. A lot of people have been saying, okay, Vlad, software development is growing, cool, but where's the real opportunity? And here's what I think is one of the biggest opportunities going forward in the market. And I'm sorry if it sounds a bit like clickbait, but it's actually not. I really want to share with you something that I've been thinking a lot about. And this is not just my assumptions. This is me learning from a lot of the clients, partners that I interact with on a daily basis. So I thought this now definitely deserves a separate story and a separate vlog. So let me just give a bit of context on what's going on in the software space when it comes to building something. So in the 2000s and 2010s, the whole idea was to build, I would call it the one-stop shop for everything. And to use the simplest example that I can, that's going to be probably eBay, right? You have a platform, you have a marketplace to buy and sell pretty much anything. And the whole idea was, once again, to be this one-stop shop for absolutely all of the categories and everything. But a very interesting thing has been happening with the whole evolution of social media, I guess. And I can really sum it up into two things. The first one, let's call it the rise of communities, and especially local communities, which means now when people are interacting with the internet or any apps, they like to be treated like a community. You can no longer serve, in most cases, just a product or a service, and just by saying, hey, I sell this, you need to buy it. People want to feel that they're part of the community. People want to feel that they can actually resonate with you. And this is why the social media content that you as an entrepreneur, as a brand post online now actually matters so much. Because if the person even wants your product, but your whole vibe doesn't resonate with them, they're gone. Previously, again, 10, 20, 30 years ago, the function, the product mattered more than the whole vibe around selling the product itself. And the second thing, which is kind of connected to community, I would call it branding. Branding is now playing a way bigger role, right? I mean, it always did, but especially now as the whole digital space is evolving, branding is playing a huge role. The way that the whole app is designed, the illustrations and the different visual elements are really important. And if your branding is wrong, subjectively wrong, then it might be the case that, again, the person might need your product, but because your branding doesn't resonate with them, they're not going to purchase from you. So we are at a very interesting moment now where these two things, the rise of communities and the whole power of branding, lead us to a very interesting moment in the whole software space. So we are now at a point actually where branding and communities and the rise of especially local communities determines the technological product itself more than the actual product or service that you're trying to sell to someone, which is crazy because you might think, okay, people need a pen, so they're just buying a pen. I would say now we are at a point where, again, the whole vibe and the community matters way more than the product or service itself. So here's what I think is going to happen next. But before I tell you what's coming next, let me just cycle back home and then we can talk again, guys. By the way, look at these superstars that I just got. Pink fluffy shoes. Sorry, a bit of off topic, but yeah, I'll keep I'll keep talking about the main topic in a bit. So what's interesting lately is that I'm seeing this trend pretty much everywhere. I'll give you two examples. Number one, and I've probably spoken about this in the previous vlog, we're working with a art company in the US and essentially building them a art specific CRM system, right? So previously companies like them would be literally using like a generic platform system to manage their business, you know, something like Monday.com or Asana. And again, increasingly for different reasons, mainly driven, as I said, branding, community, they just want their own very specific platform. I'll give you another example. I was talking a couple of months ago to my friend, and I think his family is in the meat business, meat. And you can probably imagine that there's not that many solutions specifically for the meat industry, right? Because all the solutions are very generic. And he was saying how, imagine if there was software, even though it doesn't sound fancy, imagine if there was software that was specifically for the meat space. Because again, going back to the whole community point, even boring businesses like, you know, the meat industry or some production business, they do feel more encouraged to use something if it's specifically created for them. And I'm seeing this trend, as I said, for at least the last couple of years, because overall in the software space and the startup space, we've built pretty much all of the generic platforms. And this is why I think now is a point where we can take pretty much any generic software like eBay and then decompose it into to 20 different mini softwares for different industry and making them specific for that industry in terms of building a community and understanding what that specific community needs in terms of functions. And secondly, the whole branding on top and making sure that whatever you're coming up with in terms of illustrations, colors, designs are actually going to resonate with that specific micro community. And yeah, I mean, this is my hypothesis. This is my thesis, but let me just give you 2 examples of the things that are actually growing and that are actually a proof of what I'm talking about. Let me show it to you on my laptop. I'm actually going to use my phone for this. I'm going to record my screen and then we're going to put it somewhere, I don't know, here or here, so you could actually see what I'm talking about. So the first app we're going to go to is Vinted. It's actually an app that I really love. Just in case, again, like in all videos I say, I don't get paid by anyone at all. So if you go onto the app, like look, it has a home tab, search, inbox, profile, my orders and stuff like that, favorites. So as you can see, there's a search here. Let's go and say something like Paul Smith jacket. Basically what Vinted does is people go into the platform to either sell their clothes or buy clothes from people that are selling them, which is an amazing thing because on this platform, very often you can actually buy clothes that have never been used at all. So essentially you're buying new items for the fraction of the real price. Let's say sometimes, very often actually, I buy stuff from here. I usually buy just brand new stuff, but let's say if something costs £200 at a shop, it could be £50 here. And also you can send an offer. Let me just go randomly here. And you can see make an offer. So I can go and say, okay, are you ready to sell it for £50? And then you click offer, right? And also the algorithm is really cool. You can see here recommended for you. So it's based on the searches that I've done in the past and it suggests things to buy. The reason why I love this app is because so many clothes are just wasted at home. No one ever wears them and it's a great platform to actually sell them. I mean, to be honest, what I'm wearing right now, this is a new item that I bought from Vinted. The point is, now hopefully you understand the app if you've never used it. This is something that actually existed on eBay. If you think about it, it's exactly the same thing, exactly the same mechanism. You can sign up as a seller, you can sign up as a buyer, you can list things, there's an auction, there's bidding, messages. The functionality is exactly the same, right? But what makes it very interesting is, again, 2 things. The community. This is way more catered for just people who are passionate about clothes, style, and things like that, rather than going to the generic eBay where I don't feel that whole atmosphere and vibe. Here in this app, even though it's exactly the same product tech-wise, I do feel that this is more catered towards me. And to be frank, I do feel that I'm way more likely to go and buy something from here where there's an existing community, the branding is just for clothes. I just feel really good about it compared to eBay. I think I never bought something from eBay. Anyway, this is one of the examples and I definitely see, as I said previously, eBay being sort of dissected into 20 different apps catered towards many, many different specific things. I think the best example to use in the real world is if you think about restaurants, right? Very often you would have this sort of buffet place where you can buy everything all at once, whereas now you go to the sushi place, you go to, I don't know, the Lebanese restaurant place, you go to very specific places that have a very specific twist, very specific food and menu. Very rarely, I would say now, people go, at least in London, to this sort of one-stop shop food place where you have burgers, you have pizzas, you have sushi. And I think exactly the same thing is going to happen in the software space and where the real opportunity in the next 20, 30 years is actually going to be. Now, okay, cool. You might say Vinted is one only example. But let me show you another one. Otherwise, I can keep showing them for ages as we go. But I'll show you the other one that I actually use on a daily basis as well. And this is an app called Strava. So this is an app that is for running and cycling. And again, there's a lot of very generic fitness apps where you can record absolutely everything. Swimming, running, hiking. And in Strava, to be fair, now you can actually do the same. You can record pretty much everything. So let me go and click record. And as you can see, I can select here, riding, running, walk, hike, but definitely, I mean, there's kayaking even now. Okay, but definitely what they're trying to focus on is most, like the primary audience is actually runners and people who cycle. So there you have groups. You have challenges. So in my area, I can sign up and join a challenge and then hopefully compete and win in this challenge. So it's a whole social media effect really in this app. So rather than, again, serving the function of recording my trainings, this is all about signing up, competing with your friends and mates on the platform and joining many, many different things. As you can see, apart from challenges, there's clubs. many different things here. And as I said, they started with a very narrow focus on just mainly runners at the beginning. Now they're expanding, but still, again, as you can see, instead of being everything for everyone, even though they have more sports and activities on the platform now, they're really trying to be all about just competing, being there with your friends, challenges, and things like that. And that's what I'm saying. If you take, I don't know, someone like Garmin, the fitness watch producer, I think they're the ones who are trying to be everything for everyone, whereas apps like Strava are going to be more successful simply because they're trying to target a narrower market. Those are the two apps, once again, simple, kind of simple examples, but I really think they are the blueprint for many future apps. As I said, you know, with even sometimes very weird examples like meat producers, because these ones are a bit more obvious, but I think we're going to see, again, I'm using the example of eBay giving the space for 20 micro apps to grow and exist and be profitable. I think that's exactly what's going to happen in the future. You know what's the interesting thing here? I think very often we tend to think about success only when it comes to big numbers, like $1 billion. And this is why very often it's hard to go for something smaller. Whereas now the real opportunity is actually saying, look, I'm fine with not making $5 billion, but I'm fine making $3 million because I'm just going to capture this meat production industry and I'm going to build a small iOS app specifically for them. I think it's just fear. I think it's just fear of not becoming a big player. Whereas what I'm thinking now, and I really bet on this, is that over the next 10 to 20 years, even if you build something smaller, relatively smaller, it's going to be, first of all, more interesting, but also I do think it's actually going to be slightly easier to capture that market. Again, because instead of providing a generic solution, you're making it so adapted and relevant to a specific audience, a specific community. Yeah, that's exactly what I think about the future of the whole, I would say, tech space. Let's not chase the giant things. Let's chase the slightly smaller ones. They're still big enough for everyone to make tons and tons of money. But I do think there's a lot of industries that are kind of like left out of this whole tech space, tech innovation, and they're still using Excel sheets. They're still using, I don't know what, Word documents, and they're not digital. And this is where people like me, and maybe you, need to come in and capture that entire opportunity. I hope this helps, but let me know. Let me know if you disagree, you agree, or you've had some experience. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.